Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Similarly Different. This week's episode is gonna be fun, and I am so excited because I have a powerhouse, very successful, creative, independent boss lady, Miss Fatemeh herself. And if you don't know, let me tell you about Fatemeh real quick, okay?
You did research?
No, I actually met her at an event, I want to say like a year and a half ago.
It was almost a year. It was Alyssa's birthday.
Yes, at Alyssa's birthday, our mutual friend of ours. And she instantly came to me. She was like, wait, what is your name? And it was like towards the end of the night. And come to find out, my manager, if you guys have seen the episode with Pam Zapata, knows her and they go back. And I was like, wait. And then we just started following each other on social. Then I ended up finding out that she was a casting director for all these hit TV shows, reality TV. And I was like, tell me the tea. And she actually reached out to me on DM and she was like, hey, I want to be on. And I was like, girl, I want you on. So we finally were able to make this happen so quick. I'm so grateful for you to be here. Thank you for being on Similarly Different.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to give you all the gossip.
I'm excited to hear the gossip. But first, we got to know how you even got into the casting world.
So on top of doing casting, I'm also a producer.
Yes.
I split my time between both.
Okay.
I started as an intern.
In LA?
In LA at Bunim Productions, which is the creators of The Real World and the Kardashians and all that.
Basically, every major reality show that has ever been a thing, wow, I can't speak. Specifically in the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, and my first internship was with, you're gonna die, I was doing two internships with Real World Las Vegas, the original cast, and then Old Town with P. Diddy.
Wait, do you know Sarah Kay? She used to do The Real World.
No, I don't. Maybe I do.
She's in the music world now. But
okay.
So, wait, because I actually always get asked if I'd be on a reality show, and I've been asked by different shows, but I've always said I would love to be in The Real World when I was like in my early 18, 19s. If I could go back to that time, I mean, I ended up married really young, but if I wasn't, I would have loved to be on the show like Real World or Road Rules Challenge.
You would have been great on that. Yeah.
But I also think, personally, I would have become a meme in 0.5 seconds because my facial expressions, I have like a great poker face and a horrible poker face. Where like, girl, you're not hiding nothing that you're thinking, but you're thinking a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So, okay. So you started in The Real World Las Vegas.
Yes. As an intern. And I always knew my passion was behind the scenes.
Okay.
But not necessarily reality. I just kind of fell into reality. I wanted to work in like TV film. And then somehow I was forced into reality, and not complaining. It's been an amazing journey. But yeah, back then you had to start from the bottom. You were an intern, and then you were a production assistant, and you were a PA, and I had a degree, and and I was just like, God, I gotta go pick up coffee and broom the floor. But then I was like, it's okay, let me get my foot in the door. I'm going to show them how good I am, and I'm going to work my way up.
I feel like there's something that is so beautiful about jobs back in the day that were like that, because as annoying as it was, you learn every role.
Yes.
And nowadays people start with businesses and they hire things for, tasks that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
But they're also not knowledgeable and even have the experience in it. When I started with the music company that I had with my ex, I was the QuickBooks, I was the head of marketing, I was the CMO, I was everything because I had to Google it and figure it out.
Yeah. Now there's so many people that are green, is what we call it in the industry. And let's say the front assistant, who's like the front desk girl, you'll have a conversation with her and she'll say, I want to be a producer. I should be a producer. I'm like, well, you really shouldn't. You should learn a little bit, work on set, be a coordinator, be a PA, and then eventually they don't have the patience, and they think that just because they're in the industry that they are already producers, and you're not. And that's why a lot of times I'm freelance, so I work on so many different shows, and I'm like, who am I? Who are these people? I'm like, you have no experience, and then it turns into a, can we curse?
Yeah.
You should just do a shit show of a show, because you're working
in
with
reality
people.
shows, you already have a shit show of cast to deal with.
Deal with, yeah.
Wait, have you ever seen that show on Lifetime that they made about, like, I don't know if it was a mockery of The Bachelor? Was it?
Yes, and it was the crew behind.
Yes.
What was it called? It was such a
Um,
good show.
it was such a good show. And I
Definitely can
feel like,
relate. Yeah.
yeah, I always was like, I need to find out casting director or, producers on it to be like, is this really it? But
Yeah.
I mean, I know that with reality TV, there's so much organized
Yes.
non-reality in it. But okay, so you started there and then you worked your way up. How long were you
Yeah.
there?
Oh, I still work with them on and off. They're
Oh,
like my family. I've been so blessed to travel the world with them. And then that's where I get my itch because I did
mhm.
my very first show that I got paid for was Simple Life with
Okay.
Nicole Richie and
Wow.
and Paris Hilton. And I was like, ooh, traveling? Someone else pays for it? This is great. And you get per diem. So,
Right.
and now I'm like a world traveler. Like I
And you
love
get
it.
those miles.
And I get those miles. And yeah, and then with Bina Murray, I started with the Simple Life, and then I did Simple Life 2, 3, and 4, I believe. So that was an amazing journey with those
Yeah.
girls. And then I did 7 seasons of the challenges of the Real World Road
Road
Rules
Rules.
challenges.
I wanted to be on that so bad, but they
You
were
still
like,
can.
well, they don't you have to go to like you have to be in one of the reality shows to
Not
then
I mean, you do and you don't. I feel like nowadays, if they find a candidate that's like great,
just throw it in.
they'll just
Well,
throw it
also
in.
with the added bonus, I think of like the creator world growing.
Yeah.
Now it's like if you have some sort of notoriety, they'll be like, oh, we'll just throw you in because you're like the creator, and that's like the notoriety that it
Yeah.
comes from.
And if you have like obviously if you're an influencer and you have a following, then why
Mm-hmm.
not, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that for like 7 seasons.
Okay.
And then I also did Real World Australia. So I lived in Australia for 7 months.
Wait, so how old were you when you were doing this?
I started in like my mid 20s. I started a little later.
Okay.
And then I've been doing it over 24 years now.
Yeah, but to be in your 20s and just be traveling the world for your job has to
It
be
was exciting.
yeah.
It was exciting because nobody I knew was doing it. And I got to meet the most amazing cast and crew and just people from all around the world. And now I have friends from around the world that I can just be like, hey, I'm going to come to Australia. Can I stay with
Right.
you? You know?
Yeah.
But then it was living out of a luggage, you miss weddings and birthdays and special occasions. It's not like you could just pack up and say, hey, I'll be back tomorrow, you know?
Right.
So once you're on a project, you're there from the beginning to the end. And if you leave, then you're pretty much replaced.
Right.
Yeah. So
And how would you say you transitioned from interning to finally getting a job in the industry that you felt, okay, this I could use as like my little accolade?
So I think I was on the Simple Life. I was hired as a PA, and I had no idea. Like I knew what a PA was, but again, it's my first show, and we're talking. The Simple Life at the time was like the Kardashians of now.
Yeah.
It was huge. Those
Yeah.
girls were stars. They were well paparazzi following them
Mhm.
everywhere. And I got a call. I'll never forget it. And they're like, "Hey, can you get on a plane tomorrow and go to Florida?" And I was like, well, what is it for? And they're like, oh, it's for Simple Life. And I'm like, there was no hesitation.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm there. I get paid because when you're an intern back then, it was like
Right.
I wasn't getting paid.
I wasn't like now where now interns have to get paid
Yeah,
minimum wage and they're
no.
like, no, you have to pay me to work.
Yeah, no. And I was commuting because I lived in Orange County, so I was commuting from Orange County all the way to Van Nuys because that's
Wow.
where Bina Murray used to be
Mhm.
originally. And then that was officially my first show that I went. And I would look at the other PAs on set, and they were all men. And they were just cocky and arrogant. And they would like not do anything. They'd be just smoking and just hanging out. And I'm like, why is everybody just standing around? Shouldn't you be doing something? And I would just start cleaning. I would like ask people, hey, do you need anything? And I would like I would go up to them, introduce myself to the rest of the crew. And the main guy, the big boss at the time, was kind of keeping an eye on me, and he saw that. And I think after my 3rd day was like the crew's day off, and they were all hanging out by the pool. And he calls my hotel room and he's like, can you come down to the pool really quick? And I was like, oh God, what did I do? And I walked down. He was like, so Paris and Nicole are asking for specifically this food, and none of the PAs can get it right. Can you make that happen? We're talking no cell phones. We're not, no maps. We had yellow pages. This
Yeah.
is like how crazy it was. and I had my own car that they gave me. And I was so nervous. And I went to the whatever restaurant they wanted. I ordered the food and I triple checked to make sure it was exactly what they had ordered. And then I drive to the hotel where the girls were at. There was like a day off, and there was all these bodyguards and police, and they're like, I go up to them. I'm like, hi, I'm Fatemeh. I'm here to drop off the food. They're like, yeah, just go knock on the door and, introduce yourself to the girls. Which at that time, again, for someone who this is my first time, like actually working with, these girls, I was trembling. I was nervous. Not that I didn't think I could do it. It was just more of that first interaction,
Well,
right?
you're also dealing with people that are already established and come from a certain type of expectancy to be treated a certain way, where when you're doing with reality stars that you guys are building them,
Yeah.
that are like, didn't have this background of a famous family or, wealthy family,
Right.
it's different.
Of course, yeah. And then I just knocked on the door. I knocked on Nicole Richie's door first. She opened the door. She was just this petite little tiny. She was like, "Hi." And then I was like, "Hi, I'm Fatemeh." She's like, "Hey, bitch." And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, "Hi." And then at the time she was dating, I think his name was DJ AM. He was like a
Okay.
famous
Oh,
DJ.
yeah.
And he came to the door, so sweet. They both introduced themselves. And I was like, "Oh, I have your food." She's like, none of the PAs ever get this right. And so she opened it. She's like, "Oh my God, you got it. It's exactly how we want it." They were like kind of picky eaters. And then I was like, "Well, nice meeting you. If you need anything else, like let me know." And she's like, "Okay." And then I close the door and I go next door. The rooms are like next to each other. We're somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Florida. Okay. And then I knock on the next door, and then you won't believe who opens the door. One of the guys from the Backstreet Boys, Aaron Carter.
yeah.
She was dating him at the time.
No, Nick Carter.
Nick Carter. Yeah, Aaron was his brother.
She's dropping the names. I wasn't expecting this. Okay. All right.
And he opened the door, and I was like, this is when Backstreet, I mean, this is like NSYNC, Backstreet, like they're on top of the world.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it wasn't that I was starstruck. I was just shocked. And he was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm looking for Paris." And then she comes out. She's like, "Hi, we heard you were coming." There was this instant like rapport between myself and the girls. And then I gave them their food, and then I left, and I was like in the car going, "Oh," I was so nervous. Okay, that went great. I go back to my hotel, and I get a call from the big boss, and he goes, come back to the pool.
You're like, "Oh my God, did they lie?"
I was like, "Oh God, these girls probably I'm fired." And I walked down, and he was like, "The girls specifically asked for you to be their talent coordinator." And I was like, what is that? He's like, "Basically, you're no longer a PA, you just got promoted, and you're gonna be just with the girls. Like everything the girls, they're your responsibility." And of course I said yes. And then I came home and I called everyone and their mama, and I was like, "What? Tell me what I need to know." And then they just kind of like guided me, and then that's how it started. And that's when I
Wow.
knew, I was like, this was my break. This was
Yeah,
my,
I love that. That was such a fun story. Okay, so you did Simple Life. From Simple Life, what did you go on to do?
The challenges.
Okay,
with
the
Christina Marie
challenges.
does those. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And then that was traveling too, because it's based on
different
location.
countries.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
So I've been to like New Zealand and tropical. Sometimes I forget some of the places.
Have you ever gotten sick in these countries?
No, because we have to get all of our vaccines.
Yeah, but like,
certain-
the flu, or like I got a cold and
No.
now I'm stuck. No?
No, because
well,
I'm
you're
very
blessed.
careful,
Yeah.
like what I eat, and like make sure the water, I'm like
Mhm.
safe with the. And we always have doctors on site,
Okay.
and so if something does happen, they make sure that like it's priority that the crew and the cast are taken care of. So they
Okay.
take care of us. No, I don't. I've never, but I know people who have like
Yeah.
gotten like really, really ill.
I've always thought about even the show Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Those people like literally almost die
Yeah.
in it. Courtney's like, "I will not be on that show." She's like, "I don't even have a voice right now."
I was asked to be a field producer on that, and I said no. I was like, there's no way.
I just
I'm
don't
not doing
understand.
it.
I don't understand what brings someone to say, "My life is not exciting enough. Let me go and risk my whole health." I don't know
Right.
why country came out in it, but
You did good though.
yeah. I'm like, no, I don't understand. It's not for me. But one show that I've always not necessarily wanted to be on, but I would love to host if they brought it back,
Yeah.
is Fear Factor.
Oh yeah, that was a good
I think
show.
it would be so much fun. I definitely would lose when it came to like eating the testicle bowls in a smoothie.
The bugs?
Yeah, no, the testicle bowls.
No, but would you eat the bugs?
Yeah,
You
the bugs
would?
are crunchier.
Oh,
Testicle
gross.
bowls in a smoothie, it's like so like slushy.
The fact that you've thought about this.
It got a reboot and it just didn't last.
It didn't. It's
It
not.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they just needed a different host, like a girl.
Well, Joe Rogan was the host.
I know. I
Yeah.
think they needed somebody else. Joe Rogan
Yeah.
could just stay in podcasts and like
Yeah.
all that other stuff. You know, he already is taking too much space. No, like they should have given it to me, a girl
Yeah.
that doesn't look like Fear Factor, to be like, "Hey, you little wuss, drink that damn smoothie." If you ever want to cast me for the reboot, but anyways.
When I think we had this conversation, it was his birthday. I said, when there's a good show that I know you would be good at, I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah,
it
I-
has to be something that is gonna make you a star. I wouldn't put you on some stupid dating show.
I actually got asked 3 different times
Uh-huh.
to be on The Bachelor,
Okay.
but I have a rule. I'm like, I'm not about to go and like compete for a man. And I was told by the producer or the casting girl, she says, she actually still follows me on Instagram. Her name is Stephanie. She goes, I can't put you for the Bachelorette because the way the Bachelor works is you have to go through and fight for the man to then America feels bad for you.
Yeah.
And then you become the Bachelorette. And I was like, if that is not some sexist stuff,
Yeah.
I don't want to fight for men. And then you guys give me like the little oop-de-doob, like here, now you become like the princess. I was like, I'm
Right.
the princess from now. I have worked on my self-value, okay? I do not need to compete for a man.
How long ago was this? What season was it?
This was before they did like the over 60 one.
Oh, okay.
So it was like one of those years, like maybe
Yeah.
like 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
so it's recent. Yeah.
But my friend, he was on it, Eric Bigger.
Mhm.
And he, every time he sees me, he's like, you're so talented, but I feel like the world needs to see you more. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, a show like The Bachelor would do it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go on a dating show. I wouldn't go on Love Island. I can be skimpy at times, but like, I don't want to be in a bathing suit 24/7 with like 500 cameras. I'm not that confident of a woman. Like, I would know. Oh my God, no, absolutely not.
It's a lot. I tell people who want to get in that business and they want to be a reality star, I say, you're walking into a very toxic world
Yeah.
because not
It's such a manipulative world.
yes, and not I mean there are good producers
Yeah.
and there's evil producers, right?
Yeah.
Now, not everything is scripted. I think a lot of people in the world think everything is scripted. They're not. Not
No.
all reality is scripted. But do we have story points that we need to get through? Do we have segments that we have to, film? Yeah, we do that. But I always tell them, like, if you don't have a tough skin, you should not be on reality.
Well, I also see it this way. You guys have ears of everything, right? So
Mhm.
you guys might just be the messengers, aka
Yes.
the instigators, and then you let the reactions happen organically. But what
Absolutely.
somebody didn't have access to before, now they have access to the
Mhm.
information, and from that they're gonna go
Yeah.
ahead. Or you might be like, "Hey, Brian, why don't you go to the wine room right now?" When you guys see
I've
that
done that.
Siri, that Sandy and Joe is
Yeah.
over there in the white room trying to hide.
Right.
So I definitely think it's more of like setting up the opportunity for its organic moment to happen
Yeah.
of chaos.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's times where I've been like, hey, Tina, did you hear what, Jessica said about you? And she'd be like, what? She said something about me, but she really didn't. But it's just more of like, to get it going,
Yeah.
So yeah, look, there's fun moments and then there's hard moments. But again, you have to have a tough skin
Yeah.
and you have to be okay with literally putting your life out there.
I just know I'd become a meme. I know that either like something I'd say, a reaction, it would literally become a meme because there's friends of mine that still to this day when we're out will zoom in and send a picture and be like, Yanina's face. I can't.
Kind of like Kim Kardashian when she cries. She turns
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say my friends tell me I'm a really pretty crier. I'll be like, I mean, I've cried on the show so often. Courtney tells me I'm a pretty crier. I'll be like, so like, I used to run away. Oh my God.
I gotta
I
see
should
this
not be
now.
laughing about my own trauma, but it's okay. I just be crying. I think it's because I'm a Pisces moon.
Okay.
And yeah, but anyways, back to you. Back to you on set. No. So, okay. So you do all those, you do Road Rules Challenge. At one point, did you ever burn out in that season?
I did. It was 2008. I did a challenge in New Zealand,
Okay.
which was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
I haven't remembered.
And I don't know, I was kind of burnt out by doing them back to back.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a lot, you know. There's a lot of cast members, and
Well, it's
but
a
then
lot of energy, a lot of people. You're never like just home.
right, and you have to be able to handle 30 to 35 to 40 different personalities, right? You know, not no one is the same.
Right.
So, you know, it takes, you know, a strong person to be able to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot take things personal, you know.
And for the road rules, what was your title?
I was a talent producer and also a field producer. I
Okay.
did both. And at one point, I was a segment producer, which means I was coming up with the challenges.
Oh, fun.
And one of my challenges in New Zealand, the army was there and they voted it like number one. Like they loved the challenge I came up with. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, I have to go
Yeah.
check it out. Because I always think, how are these people coming up with
Yeah,
these things? It's like,
we
do you
would-
guys have to kind of make sure they can't die from it?
Well, yeah, there's safety team out there. Absolutely.
I'm serious. I'm always like,
No.
what if something goes wrong, guys?
We have these like amazing, you know, stunt people,
Okay.
safety team. I think they call them safety team. And they're there just testing these things over and over and making sure that they're like 100% like legit. They're
I'm
safe.
like laughing because in my head, I'm like, okay, so if a stunt man of 25 years experience can do it, you little guy from Rhode Island should be able to give it a go.
No, I actually tested one of them once.
You
And
did?
we were in South Africa in Cape Town. And it was they're like, hey, we need some of the crew to test these before the cast come in. I was like, I want to do it. And it was like, I was on a harness and I remember I had to, so imagine like two parallel walls, right?
Mhm.
And I had to climb this wall with my hand, but I'm on a harness because and it's a, you know, it's pretty up there. So if I fall, I mean, there's nothing, I'm just gonna, you know,
Bungee, yeah.
bungee. But trying to figure out how to get up there took a few seconds.
Mhm.
And then once you went up there, then you had to climb on this ladder and then you had to pull this rope. And I did it against my friend Tiffany. She was also a producer.
Mhm.
And she won. I was so mad. I was like, I think I was in tears. And
Oh.
TJ, who's the host of the
Mhm.
show, love him. He was over there just cheering us on, like, come on, Fatemeh, you got this. And like, just hearing him in my ear, I was like, because I almost wanted to give up because it's
Mhm.
hard, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not built for this. I'll just be behind the camera.
I love it. That has to
Yeah.
be so exciting though, because like you said, there's so many personalities, but you're able to also experience the world, but then you don't have a sense of home
Yeah.
actually. So as a woman being in your 20s, when you burnt out in 2008, what happened?
So I wanted to be more at home,
Okay.
like because dating is harder. And the kind of men that I was meeting were men on, you know, on set, like guys on the crew. And they're not the most, you know,
Not the greatest batch.
decent men. Yeah. And I was just, you know, and I wanted to be closer to my family. And I
Mhm.
was missing like my best friend's wedding, you know, and like my grandmother's birthday, like just big things that you just
Yeah.
like cannot redo.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, you know, maybe I need to just be more at home. So then I left Bunim Marie, not on bad terms. And I went and started working with Ryan Seacrest Productions.
Mhm.
And then I helped create Shaws of Sunset.
Okay.
And because I'm Persian and the show was about Persian cast.
Mhm.
And I got a call from this amazing producer. His name is Pete. I got a call, not from Pete because I didn't know him yet, this other guy. And he was like, hey, Fatemeh, we got this show
Mhm.
about Persians and the whole crew is white. He's like, the producers have no idea like what to do with it.
Like the first, you
like-
mean the cast, the crew was white.
No, well, the producers, like
Oh,
everybody, they're
huh,
like,
huh.
we have this kind of like a concept of like, we want to do a show about
Yeah.
Persian community. Can you come in and meet the producers? And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. So
Yeah.
I go in and I sit down and I meet Pete Tartaglia, who's a EP, and we like instantly hit it off. And he's like, you know, can you work on the show? I was like, yeah. He's like, can you give me some ideas? And I looked at him, I said, am I hired?
Right.
Like,
Like, am I
I
giving
mean,
these ideas for free or
You
like?
want me
or-
to get right? And then he liked that, and he was just so. He was like, "Let us think about it." I left the office. They called me 30 minutes later. They offered me the job. Did you remember Sheena? You met her she's Alyssa's friend. She was sitting with us at the table. She's the one who helped put the birthday together.
Maybe if I see a face.
That's
Was she on it?
No, but she
Oh.
eventually I brought her into that company, and
Mm.
she started working with Ryan Seacrest
She's Alyssa's
production.
friend?
Yeah,
Oh.
she's like they're like best friends. They've
Oh,
known
okay.
each other since they were used to live in DC.
Mm.
But yeah, and then I started doing Shaw's, and that was and I was at home. You know, I was
How
in
many
LA.
years did Shaw's go for?
Shaw's went for 10 seasons, but I only did 2.
Okay.
And then I left Shaw's, and I honestly could not tell you the order of the shows I've done,
Mhm.
but I left Shaw's and went to another production company and did another show. And once in a while, I would go back to Bunim and do shows here and there, but I think I was like less traveling for a while.
Okay.
And then I started doing the Kardashians.
Mhm.
So that was kind of cool, and that was pretty big,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, that show was it's been on for so long. It's like Bina Murray's baby,
Right.
you know? And I did that and for about 2 years. And then I got offered to do another show in Nashville where I was like a supervising producer. So, you know, obviously if someone offers you a bigger title, you
Right.
know,
You need to elevate.
yeah, and I was like, "Ugh, am I going to leave the Kardashians for this?" Like it was honestly the toughest decision in my career. But at the time, they didn't know if the Kardashians were going to come back. Like they do maybe back-to-back seasons and then it's like
A break,
hiatus.
yeah.
It's like a break and it's like, well, are they going to get re-signed? So there was rumors that they might not, and I was like, well, I can't just wait. And what if it doesn't get picked up? You know,
Right.
I have to like take on another job. So I took on another job, but yeah, that was also an incredible show.
How
to
long were
work.
you in Nashville?
I was in Nashville for about 4 months. It was
Okay.
a show about talent who were trying to start their like country careers
Okay.
in music industry. We shot a whole season, and I can't remember what network it was for, but
Didn't
it
greenlight?
aired, but it didn't do that well. So there
Mm.
was never like a second season.
Is there a show that you've worked on that you wish had a second go because maybe it didn't hit, but you thought it was great or it had great potential?
God, no one's ever asked me that. That's a great question. Like if I did one season and then it never
Mhm.
did. No,
Good. Then that
I don't
means
think
that all the
so.
shows.
I think most of the shows I've ever done have been in like multiple seasons.
Who is your favorite person to work with?
As far as talent,
Yeah. Top
Hmm,
three. Top three. Not even top one. Top three.
okay. Well,
Or do we say top five?
I think working with Kim was
Okay.
amazing. She's such a professional, and I go way back with Kim. I knew Kim on the Simple Life days when
Mm.
no one knew who Kim was. She was friends with Paris and Nicole,
Mhm.
and she used to clean their closet
Mhm.
and organize it. And I remember we were filming one day with Simple Life, and Paris comes up to me and says, "Hey, my girlfriend Kim's coming," and I'm like, Kim who? She was like, Kim Kardashian. She's gonna come get her nails done with us. And then we were filming a scene on, and I said, okay, just tell her to come inside and like ask for me. And back then we had to take their photos, whoever was on camera, and then it was a Polaroid. So it
Mhm.
would come out and then we'd staple it to the release
Right.
that like, that they had to sign and
Talent
say,
release.
yeah, like basically you're giving us permission to show your face.
Mhm.
And I remember we're all this little, nail salon, and we're just standing there with the crew, and this gorgeous creature walks in, and I'm like, who is that? Like no one knew, and she just like she looked really nervous. She was no makeup, just very simple, and she pulled up in a Bentley. And she walks up and she's like, "Hi, I'm looking for Fatima." And I was like, "Oh, I'm Fatima." She's like, "I'm Kim." I'm like, I need you to sign this." And she's like, "I'm a little nervous." I'm like, "Well, you just don't look at the camera. You're just gonna walk in the scene and hang out with the girls." And so I took her picture, stapled it, and then she went and we put a mic on her, and I could hear the guys on the walkie. They're like, "Who the F is that?" And I was like, "I don't know, but she's so beautiful." We were all like whispering on the walkie, and then she got into the scene and she didn't even talk. She was very nervous. And then we finished the scene and I went up to Paris. I said, "Who is that?" She's like, "Oh, she like organizes our closets and sells stuff on eBay." And I said, "And she drives a Bentley?" I was kind of confused.
Yeah.
Put two and two together. She goes, "Oh, she's dating Ray J, Brandy's brother." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then that was it. Like
Yeah.
just never heard from her again until like maybe a month or two later. Paris took her on some red carpets, and
Mhm.
then the whole
Yeah,
you know.
shabam. From you working with Kim on From the Simple Life all the way down to the Kardashians, what do you think is a misconception? Because everybody knows she's a hard worker. You know, you could love
Yeah.
her, hate her, whatever. You could tell that she's a hard worker. So, what do you think is a misconception that people have?
Well, I think a lot of people think she's like a diva
Mm-hmm.
and she's very demanding. She's not. She's just confident. And she's like legit a businesswoman. And what I love about her is she takes the time to like know who you are. Unlike many other celebrities I've worked with who won't even make eye contact with you, you know? And I think she also gets this reputation that she's, you know, she's a whore or I don't
I
know
just
what,
no.
but
She
she's just,
recently
she's
said it in
not.
her no, but she even recently said it in the episode when like they were playing the whole roast and how
Yeah,
they booed
booed
her.
her. Yeah.
And she says it in the car going to the Met Gala. She goes, "You called me a whore. Everybody considers me a whore.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Who?
Change the word." You know,
Right.
like, and it's like at this point, it's like,
And the thing is, just from, I don't like personally know her and talk to her every day,
yeah,
but just working with her, she's not one of those people that's right and left, like hooking up with different guys. You know, she's a businesswoman. She cares about her children and she has an incredible mom who knows how to, you know, handle business.
yeah. I would love Kris Jenner as my momager.
Right?
I'm like, you want to do a 6-month trial?
Right? Yeah, but I think it was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made was like leaving the show. But everything happens for a reason.
Everything
It's
happens for a
okay.
reason, and your
Yeah.
story's not done. Who knows that the
Yeah.
world isn't going to come back full circle where it's
Exactly.
supposed to be?
Yeah.
And okay, so wait, you were telling me your favorite people. Okay, so you said one Kim.
Okay, so I'd say on the challenges, Tina Barta, she's one of the like OG was what we
Uh-huh.
call her. Her and I like instantly hit it off
Mhm.
and we are like friends. We talk. I flew to Texas a couple years ago to go visit her. Like she's like my homegirl. Oh, favorites. Gosh. I wish I would have prepared for these questions.
Memorable moments. Who at the top of your head brings a memorable moment? Because you also did Vanderpump.
Yeah, I just
Vil-
did I did Vanderpump Villa 1 and then 2, which we just filmed in Italy, and it's
Uh-huh.
gonna air. Season 2 will air on Hulu end of April.
Okay, but that's a whole different cast, not the Vanderpump Rules original
Yeah,
cast.
totally different cast because it's a different concept.
Okay.
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay,
My
so
favorites.
we got two. We got Tina and we got Kim.
Yeah,
Maybe you have top two and that's okay.
I mean, there was always like a lot of haughty men that were my favorites.
She was like, I have my top 5 of
back
best
then when I was
abs.
single.
She's like, you want me to
Yeah.
tell you who had the best abs and butt?
CT.
Oh.
CT from the challenge had the
Okay.
best abs. I mean, I remember we as the crew, when he would take his shirt off, we would all just look at each other and go, like when this is like when his younger days when he was just absolutely in shape. Yeah, he was, you know, a very attractive, physically fit man, and you know, it always brought a smile to our faces on set.
So now that you've gone through like the 2008 basically crash
yeah,
and then
yes.
you were able to get into a rhythm of just being in LA and working on shows in LA, and then you started with Shaws of Sunset. What happened next?
Then I left Ryan Seacrest and I worked. I honestly cannot remember what show I went on after that, but I went to I worked with another company named Asylum, and then from 2000 I did Shaw's from 2009 till about 2000, I think 11 or 12.
When you were doing all this, did you ever, as a woman who is a minority in these kind of
Mhm.
spaces, did you ever feel like you maybe needed to change careers, or were you able to solidify yourself by that point of this is where I belong and this is, you know, and people respected you for it?
I think the hardest part about that industry was the stability of
Mhm.
jobs, right? Because I am freelance. So it was up to me to find my next project. And at the beginning, for many years, it was exciting and I was constantly getting work. Sometimes I was getting offers that I couldn't even decide which one I wanted to do. And I was working 12 months out of the year. And then eventually, as reality changed, and as so many more people come from around the world here to work
Mhm.
in this industry, competition gets harder, right?
Right. And then the industry also starts changing.
Changing, right? And then now with the streaming, the industry is as far as reality goes, the industry is hurting.
Yeah.
I have so many friends, including myself, where we're like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, is this we have to say goodbye to this passion, this career that we've put so much effort into? And so yeah, just the stability part of it was really difficult for me, and like not knowing, sometimes I finish a project, not knowing when my next project's gonna be, and like maybe not working in between. And I did leave the industry for a couple of years. I
Oh.
left and I was like, I need a corporate job. I need a regular job. And it was a couple of years before COVID. And I went and I did that. I worked for the city for a
Mhm.
little bit. It just wasn't the same, you
Yeah.
know? I go to work and I'm like, this is so boring. Like, I
Mhm.
don't get to be creative.
Yeah.
I don't get to like be out and about and be on set and like meet people. And like, I'm kind of a social butterfly. I might not look it all the time, but I am. I am a people person. I have to be with the job
Mhm.
that I do. And that's how I kind of got more into casting. Because
Okay.
when the filming was a little slow, I was like, okay, let me get into casting. And then so I do casting a lot more now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where do you see yourself with the industry? You said that the industry is changing with everything of streaming. Do you feel like because of streaming, there could be opportunities just for a new age of reality TV?
I don't know. I was having this discussion with a DP friend of mine who's a cameraman, and I feel like for them there's always things, but for
Yeah.
the producers it's a little different. I don't think so. And there's moments where lately I feel like I'm probably gonna say goodbye,
Mm-hmm.
not because I want to, just because I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And I might look back and regret it, but then I see I don't want to get emotional.
No. Aw.
I'm gonna be the ugly crier. You be the pretty crier.
Yeah.
But then, um, sorry,
Where do you feel the emotions come from?
sorry, did not
No.
want to cry.
No.
But I think sometimes, like, I forget like how hard I worked.
Mm-hmm. To build like everything that you've been a part of.
And then you like kind of question yourself, like,
Yeah.
was this the right career?
Yeah.
Did I like waste 20 years of my life on this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the instability of it, that it doesn't, the entertainment industry doesn't give you longevity. It doesn't give you security,
Yeah.
but it brings you so much joy and passion
Yes.
when you're in it. It's a drug that, like, I always tell people I can't express it
Yeah.
when you're in it. It just brings you joy, but
But then I hear like your producer reading my credits,
mm-hmm.
and then, or when I do a show and you see your name on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and then you think, you know what, I did it
Mm-hmm.
as a minority woman, you know? And back then, before this whole Me Too, it was rough.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention names or shows, but there was a lot of times where I had incidents and I was like, how am I going to do this? Because I
Right.
knew if I say something, I could get fired,
Right.
you know? It's changed now and I'm way more outspoken if I see something that makes me uncomfortable or
Right.
someone's disrespecting me, or I'm like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, I just look back and then I think, "Oh my god, I've done so much." Like I've worked on some of the biggest reality shows. I've traveled half of the world. I've got to meet amazing people. I've made friends. And and then like it's kind of like the little devil on your shoulder and then
Right.
the little angel, you're okay, and I'm fine. Like, I'm just sorry I'm getting emotional, but it's a sensitive question because I just question myself sometimes,
Yeah,
like, did
and
I
I think
make
I
the right
think it's
decision?
human. I think it's human because in the industry that we're in as being creatives, we put so much of ourselves into our
Yeah.
job. And it's a
Yeah.
lot of our creativity, our brain, our energy, our hard-filled hours. Like you said, the times that you missed your friends' birthdays, your family members' birthdays, the
Right.
passing, the births.
Yeah.
And then you're like, was it all worth it? Was it all worth it now when you're
Yeah.
sitting here? And I think that at the end of the day, at least for myself, and a little note I guess I could give you is, even if it doesn't take you to your final step, it takes you as far as it's supposed to.
Yeah.
because you wouldn't be the Fatemeh that you are today if you didn't experience all that and the
Absolutely.
beauty in it.
Yeah.
You know, like there was so much beauty, there was so much grit, but there
Yeah.
was so much adventure that your soul needed in that moment. And the universe, God, whatever it is that people believe in, like it was given to you in that moment for you to be able to step into whatever you're supposed to be next. Screw whether streaming is gonna go, it's gonna take over.
Right.
There's still your brain and your
Yeah.
creativity that something may not have been formed yet, but something could be formed from a conversation, from an
Yes.
experience, from a new opportunity, or somebody even, I always tell people, and I pray this to God. I always say, God, please put my name in the right people's minds.
Oh, I love
Because
that.
I don't always have to be in the room.
Yes.
But if my name is in your mind, then you're going to think of me for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And who's to say that it's not the new way of the way TV is going,
Yeah.
or creating of shows, or creating of experiences that
Yeah.
you might be like, maybe I don't do reality TV. Maybe I don't do, TV shows anymore. Maybe what you end up doing is a whole new way of experience of a fan to celebrity or human to human.
Yeah. No,
And
I
it takes you
agree.
to the next stage.
Absolutely. And another thing that I've been doing the past couple of years is I'm also creating my own shows.
I love
And
that.
I have, and like, when I say creating, coming up, obviously the concept, working with other talent, coming up with other concepts, and then filming it, funding it, helping with the post editing, and trying to sell it. And they're like my babies, and I have a
Mhm.
partner that I work with. So, again, it doesn't make me sad. I think it was
No.
just like a sensitive
Yeah,
question, and
I
it made
think
me
at
a little
times, like,
emotional.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and right now you just you shared a whole timeline of your career.
Yeah.
So when's the last time you sat down and you talked about simple life and this and that?
Right,
So it's
right.
like you start bringing down, you're like, oh shit, I've kind
Yeah.
of done a lot, and I think, but in the beauty of it, it's also is to remind you that you have done a lot.
Alyssa, once I had this couple years ago, I had this conversation with her, and I was telling her how work has been slow, and she made a comment that I'll never forget. She's like, "Don't ever forget what a bad bitch you are." She's like, "You've done a lot that a lot of people can't say they've done.
Mhm.
So don't ever forget that. People that people wish they knew."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Wow, sometimes you just need to hear that."
Yeah, 1000%. So many times you can say that it's as women, but honestly, as humans, we just get so consumed with what's around us
Yeah.
that we forget our trajectory. Today, I was getting ready on TikTok Live, and somebody was like, oh, what was your first job as a child? And I was like, what was my first job as a child? And I had to literally sit and be like, what was my first job? I don't remember. And I worked at a jean store as a 12-year-old getting paid under the table.
Okay.
And then I was telling them, and I was like, there's projects that even in my marriage, when I was with my ex, we owned a music company together. I don't remember certain projects we did because life was just going so fast
Mhm.
that I don't know how, mind you, I'm 33.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how do these people that were in the war and they're like their 80s, 90s have these memories? Because I can't even remember everything I've lived and I'm only 33. So
Right.
the fact that we're even going back right now and retelling your whole resume and trying to do that, it's just, it brings up creativity, excitement, but also feeling. And as
Yes.
women, like everything we do, we put our passion into it. And I think it goes to show that like you've put your passion into your career.
Absolutely. I have. There was literally, I think it was more priority for me than to start a family, than to, get married. I wanted that, but it just didn't really happen because my career was first. Because you couldn't really have a family when you're traveling all the time and living out of a luggage,
Yeah.
and meeting these bad boys. But now I have someone amazing.
So now would you say you're like, you wouldn't go back to like the travel life? Now you're like wanting more stability.
When I do them, so like I did Vanderpump Villa season 1 in France, and then we did season 2 in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you come to me with Europe and you're like,
you're like, I can make some
I'm like,
things
I'm
work.
packing my bag. I'll be right there. So I have this rule where if it's anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, I'll take it.
Okay.
But I also like to at least like the show. You know what I mean? If I look at these shows, I don't even watch reality TV, which is crazy. There's like one that I
don't
might
listen to
watch.
podcasts.
Really?
No.
I do watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. That's my guilty. I will admit, I've been watching since season 1, and I am just obsessed with how crazy they are, but I like love their personalities. That's like the only reality show I watch. I don't
So
even watch the
funny.
shows that I work on. Like I
Mhm.
might just like wait till the end and just like see like if they spelled my name right on the credit. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey and I have no regrets. I really don't. A friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine have told me I should write a book
Yeah.
because of all these crazy stories that
The
have.
reality behind reality TV.
Yeah, I like that title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Give me a little percentage if you do it. We got it on camera.
We sure did.
No,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think like if anything, anybody is watching or listening to this podcast, it just goes to show you that in the creative field,
Yeah.
is what I can say, is you have to learn from the bottom to the top to
Mhm.
really get an understanding for the work that needs to be put in. And I
Yeah.
think it is lost in today's age. A lot of people are like, that's below me. If it's below you, then the
Yeah.
top role is never going to be of you,
Ooh, yeah.
because you got to learn all the aspects and the places of it so that you actually also know what every department does.
Yep.
Second thing is passion and knowing your value. You walking into the room and somebody asking you for your ideas is more common than not. And I can say from my own experience, I have given ideas and they've been used,
Oh, yeah.
And nowadays, I will not give my ideas without, I don't care how stale the conversation goes. Are you asking me for my ideas because I'm being involved in this? I need it
Yeah.
on paper, So I think those are the main two. And then the third one I would say is that when going through any hard times in your life, if you have had any trajectory, if you are creative, even if you are a medical student, if you are a law student, I think that a lot of the times, more than if you are a mom, if you are a stay-at-home
Yeah.
mom, a lot of the times we forget of our accomplishments that we have done throughout our lives and we minimize because of maybe where we are in our current state. So
Yeah.
I can say for myself, I have forgotten at times the amount of national campaigns I've been in, the brand deals I did, the jobs I've worked for, the amount of money that I've surpassed, because you're just so focused on, well, what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
What am I of value right now?
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it, I am of value of this because of my trajectory. And I say it to you to remind you, but also because I say it to whoever listens and to whoever watches, that if you are a stay-at-home mom right now and you are trying to tell yourself, for what's next for me, I think that as long as you do your part, which right now is rehabilitating yourself
Right.
and getting yourself back, the next thing will come.
Yeah.
If you are a person that has decided to change medical school and go somewhere else, still be glad that you did X amount of years of medical school and be
Yeah.
excited for whatever you're stepping into next,
Right.
And even for myself, like as a creator, the creator world is so up and down. And there's so many years in my life that I didn't learn what my 9 to 5 was. And my 9 to 5 in this essence is that January, February, March is slow for me. It's just, it is what it is for me
Yeah.
personally. But then once March hits, I'm so busy that around June or July, I usually end up burning out, and it's not healthy.
Right.
So I'm trying to do this year is more experience more, travel more with the humans in my life, and not because of an event, not because of a brand deal, because those are already going to come in its own time, because I've put 10 years plus into this industry.
Right.
I don't have to prove to people that I am of value. I am of value. I just have to do what I'm meant to do and what I normally would do. And the things are going to come to me, but I have to feed myself so that I could show up correctly.
Amen to that.
And I think that like I'm really trying to put that on myself, because
I
we
love
forget
that.
about ourselves so much. And instead we're like, well, now the industry changed, so now I have to prove myself to these people. Well, now, like with streaming and shows, like what am I going to do now? But you have to just have the creative conversations, be in the creative rooms, go to the dinners. Opportunities are being created by everyone at all times.
Absolutely, yeah. And every time that phone rings or I get a text that says, hey, you were recommended by or referred by someone, every time I get a call like that, it's like like a reality in my head that like, you know what? You are good at what you do. That's why after all of these years, you're still getting calls from people that don't even know you, but they somehow, got your resume or you were referred by someone. So yeah, yeah. And to go back to answer some of my favorite people, Nicole Richie was definitely one of them. She was the reason I fell in love with fashion. I love fashion. And it was like seeing her get dressed, and like I would help her sometimes like get her outfits together. And I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. So then that kind of like made me more passionate about fashion. And she was one of my favorite. And then David Tutera. I worked on a show called David Tutera Celebration. He's a huge event planner.
Okay.
I worked on his show for
Oh wait,
about
was it on E?
no, it was on A&E, I think.
Oh, okay.
A&E.
Was it
Yeah.
like events like weddings and all this stuff?
Celebrities, different celebrities. It could be he used to have his own show, My Fair Wedding or something, where
I think I've seen
and
it.
then eventually we switched it up and it was different celebrities on our show, and each celebrity had a different event. So if someone had a birthday party for their daughter, or someone was getting married, someone was going to propose, which was kind of fun to work with different, A-list, B-list, C-list celebrities. And then David was just incredible, and I'm
I think
still
I
friends
remember
with
that
him.
show because I have a degree in hospitality and tourism, and I wanted to be a wedding planner.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I watched
I mean,
it because of it.
he's very, I mean, he does like, we're talking $1 million weddings. Like he just makes things so incredible. And you're like, oh, and my joke with him was always like, when I get married one day, and then I go, never mind, David, I can't afford you. I'd have to be a millionaire to be able to hire you. Yeah. But he's just an incredible person. And I learned so much working with him, and just, just some people, you would think some of the biggest celebrities could be the nicest. And then the ones that are like, I don't want to say, they're not the A-listers.
Yeah,
and
the
they're
true reality stars
Yeah.
that were found and then created through production and a
Yeah.
show happen to be the ones that you would think, are a little bit too snooty.
I mean,
or
I've worked with
mean.
like actual like movie, TV show celebrities that are just like, God, you're just an evil person. Like, I do not want to ever work with you again. And it's sad because, you watch their shows, you watch their movies, or, you're like a fan of their work, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my God, how was I supporting your career all these years?
Yeah.
But, it happens. And then there's the ones that like, just, you meet them and they're just so incredibly kind and sweet that you would like, you could see yourself having a friendship with.
Yeah. And I think there's light and darkness in everything, right? There's light and darkness in the industry. There's light and darkness in the people you're going to come across, the talent you're going to come across. But I think overall, like, there's even light and darkness in self. So I think it's quieting that little devil, like you said, in the shoulder. And I hope that, okay, I have a question for you. If somebody wanted to be a reality star,
okay,
what are 3 things that you look for when you're interviewing them?
To be real,
What if their real is boring?
Then you're not good for television.
Okay. So maybe have like a little tequila beforehand?
That actually does, when we do the, interviews on Zooms, usually is how we do them. We tell them like, if you need to loosen up a little bit, take a shot, have a glass of wine next to you. It really does, because they're super nervous.
Yeah.
But when you're overacting, and we've done this for so long, that give me 5 minutes and I'll be able to tell you if this person has something in them. I could just look at a person and just their energy, and then I'll know. But yeah, when they like overact and they're like trying to sell themselves to you, you're like, you don't need to do that. Like, if I feel like you're good, I'm gonna move you forward. To, like I had mentioned earlier, to not be afraid to put your life out there. Like, there cannot be, I want to be a star, but I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, because it's going to be found at some point.
It's going to be found. So if you have a big secret that you don't want the world to know, then you probably should not be a reality star. Because as producers, we will find out. We're like detectives.
I mean,
who do you need to know? What do you need to know? Like, give me 5 minutes.
Right.
That's
so
what
funny.
we do.
And then the third thing?
I guess just also like, have a sense of humor, be open-minded, have fun. Like, don't be so like, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to say this, and I'm too good for this. Like, that's also not going to work. Yeah. And those are, I would think, those are probably like the top 3. And then obviously if you're, beautiful or handsome, that does help. But not to say that some people who apply, their personality, is like so incredible that you're like, I don't care if you're not a 10, you're still incredible, and we'll make you a 10.
I love that. Okay, well, if you guys audition for a reality show, make sure that you put in your recommendations that you went to Fatemeh's boot camp through my podcast and give us credit, okay, that we helped cast you.
Right?
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I am so thankful that you were here and were so open and vulnerable, not only about your journey, but about even the hard times through it. For those that want to be in reality TV, like she said, you know, take the tips, go through it if you're going to really just authentically be yourself and have fun with it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be.
It is fun.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is a fun experience.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to be in the behind the scenes, she just gave you literally the blueprint on how to really work it and do it so that if anything, somebody will come in and be like, oh, that person has that old age type, you know, drive.
Yeah.
We miss that. But thank you so much for being a part of the show. I loved our conversation. I got to laugh. I felt heartwarming moments and I learned a lot. So I don't know if y'all going to be seeing me on a reality show.
We will put her on a reality show. Just give me some time.
I don't know. We'll have to go through the contract of this, okay?
I think we actually talked about having you when I was casting Vanderpump Villa, because you mentioned the hospitality thing, and Vanderpump Villa is about people that have been in the hospitality.
I just feel like I'm too old for a show like that. I'm in my 30s. All those are like 21, 22. They'll be like, mother?
No, we have some in their early 30s, but I mean, something better will come for you.
Yeah, something with more depth and like giggles. But yeah, until next time, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Bye.